Has it really been 15 years since the last truly great Spider-Man movie came out? I guess it's better late than never.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your jobs.
What? I'm kidding. Look, keep up the good work.
Because I am going on vacation.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another episode of Si o No. Just got back from the movie theater. Got to see an early screening of Spider-Man Far From Home. This movie had a lot of hype surrounding it, even though I haven't really been a big fan of the Spider-Man movies since like Spider-Man 1 and 2. And that was a long ass time ago. That was like almost 20 years ago. Spider-Man has kind of been a victim of his own success if you think about it. Spider-Man 1 and 2 were so good that everything that Spider-Man has done since has paled in comparison. But with Spider-Man now in the MCU and dealing with the after effects of Avengers Endgame, there's finally a sign of life in Spider-Man. Now, I'm not saying that Spider-Man Homecoming was a bad movie, because it wasn't, or that Tom Holland is a bad Spider-Man, because he's not. But Spider-Man Homecoming is nowhere near the movies that Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey Maguire were. They're just not. But this movie, though? This movie's right up there with Spider-Man 1 and 2, and damn well could be better. Okay, maybe better is a little strong, but definitely just as good. Maybe it's because I'm fresh from seeing this movie, but I think this is my favorite Spider-Man movie ever, and that's just my opinion. I'll say that my biggest concern going into this movie was how exactly the writers were going to handle the 5-year time jump from Avengers Endgame. Watching the trailer from Spider-Man Far From Home, you'd think that everyone from Peter Parker's school survived the Thanos snap, but luckily that is not what happened at all. Some kids look the same, like MJ and Peter Parker's best friend, you know, like the main characters for obvious storytelling reasons. But there are kids in this movie that survived the Thanos snap and are now actually 5 years older. That's something that I was really paying attention to going into the movie, is how they would answer this question. But thankfully, they answer it in a good way. If everybody would have came back in this movie and everyone would have been the same age, it would have made no sense at all. It would have definitely bothered my experience of the whole movie. But luckily, the writers and director John Watts were smart enough not to let that happen. I could waste your time talking about the action set pieces and the visuals, but it's a Marvel Spider-Man movie, so you know exactly what you're getting. Even though it was cool seeing Spider-Man fly through Europe and not New York City for a change. If you guys watched Spider-Man Homecoming, you know how great Tom Holland and Zendaya are as Peter Parker and Mary Jane. So I won't spend too much time talking about them here, but they do a great job building that relationship that was established in Spider-Man Homecoming. But as with every superhero movie, it's only as good as its villain, and the villain here is Jake Gyllenhaal playing my favorite Spider-Man villain of all time, Mysterio. No, not Rey Mysterio, this Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal was a perfect casting for Mysterio, which is funny because he was always rumored to be the next Spider-Man ever since Tobey Maguire stepped down. But Mysterio fits Jake Gyllenhaal's persona way more than Spider-Man's, so I'm happy with how things played out. Honestly, I was surprised when Mysterio was originally announced to be the villain for this movie, because I never really thought a Mysterio movie was possible due to his superpowers. But director John Watts, he also directed the first Spider-Man, or I should say Spider-Man Homecoming. He was good in Spider-Man Homecoming, but he's great as a director here. You definitely see the growth between Spider-Man films. I do wish John Watts would have gotten darker with Peter Parker's emotional arc, given the fact that Tony Stark just died and that's a big deal. They could have definitely shown Peter be a little more sad, a little more dark about Tony's death, but there's a lot of humor, there's a lot of warmth, there's a lot of awkward teenage romance to make up for that lack of emotional volatility that the death of Tony Stark should have caused. Spider-Man is at its best when Peter Parker is caught in between what he wants and what his responsibility demands. And this movie conveys that very, very well. This took me back to my childhood as the first great Spider-Man movie since 2004. So this is an easy thumbs up for me. It's an A+ summer blockbuster that you're not gonna regret seeing, especially in the theaters. I don't want to spoil anything about this movie, so I'm going to tread lightly here, but I really like the direction that Spider-Man is going in the MCU. Looks like Spider-Man is going to be the leader of the MCU going forward, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, all those superheroes had their turn to lead, and it's only fitting that Spider-Man gets that same chance. But alright guys, now that you know what my thoughts are on Spider-Man Far From Home, I want to know what your thoughts are on Spider-Man Far From Home in the comments below. And as always, if you like this review and you want to see more of the latest TV and movie news, go ahead, subscribe to my channel. It'll help your boy out, it'll help the channel out, it'll help you out. Peace.